Hello and welcome to our reading for the week of August the 27th through September the 2nd, 2023. We're already heading towards autumn, which is my favorite season. And today we are going to take a look at your cards for the week. As always, I do this with my cartouche deck that I've been using for 36 years. And of course, I'm using today the Egyptian Tarot along with this deck. And our extra deck is going to be the Wisdom of the Tao Oracle by Beijing Liu. So we'll start with an astrological spread. This is what I always like to do because it gives us the influences in all areas and it shows us specifically which areas are going to be affected. So, which cards apply, to your money, to your relationships, to your projects, to your home. We can see all of the different areas. If you do like these videos and the way that I do them, please subscribe and leave comments if you would like. I always like to, the more that people look at these with all of the tarot videos out there, the more it puts me up in the algorithm. So if you would like to do that, if you like these enough to actually be subscribed, then I would definitely appreciate that. Okay, so I'm going to start with the astrological spread and see what our cards are for this week. Okay. Astrologically, we are going to have a full supermoon in Pisces this week. So that is going to be, we've got double supermoons this month, so that's quite a bit of potent energy on top of the retrogrades. Today, as I'm recording this, we actually have an opposition between the Sun and Saturn, which can create, create some problems, create some criticisms. If there's certain things that you have not been doing, they might be brought to your attention. And, it could be that things you're trying to move forward on could be frustrated on a day like today. So, so this, there's some intense influences this week. And Pisces energy can, if we're already feeling a bit confused or nebulous or, not really sure what's real and what's not real, Pisces doesn't necessarily help that, but Pisces is actually good for things having to do with the imagination, creativity, dreaming big. This may be more of a time, I feel like, with all the retrogrades going on, because we're getting to a point where we're going to have all planets except Mars in retrograde. So you could be, it's not that you shouldn't keep working on things, but you may find that trying to get the results that you want right away, it might be difficult. And so far, what I'm seeing in this reading, that's kind of being borne out. So let's see. So let's draw some tarot to go along with our cartouche cards, so we can see what is what here and what we all need to know. So let's see. Okay. So the way I always begin is I always usually read the first and seventh house in combination. First house has to do with you. This is Aries energy and how you present yourself to the world. And it could be even questions about your own identity, you trying to figure out who you are at this point or where you stand. And we have fire as our first card. So when fire comes up, we have this sense of really just trying to, first of all, there's an inspiration that goes with fire, first of all. So this may be a week where we have a lot of ideas. We are inspired. Now, during Mercury retrograde, this can be part of the frustration, is because we feel this very strongly, but we may not be able to do a whole lot about it right now. So definitely write those ideas down. Keep a list. I do that. I wake up every morning and I have like 20 ideas in my head. So I know I will forget all of them by breakfast time. So I literally get up and I have a sheet of paper and I write everything down when I first get up. And then that way I go back later and go, oh yeah, I wanted to explore that. So might be a good idea at this time. But, this may be something more that we want to do post-retrograde, particularly Mercury retrograde, which ends September 15th, 16th, in that ballpark. So, but fire, in addition to feeling inspired, fire can also bring anger. It can bring passion. I mean, it's a fire card in the house of Aries, okay? And Aries is Mars ruled. So we do have to watch out for tempers. We do have to watch out for, I think there's a strong inclination to potentially misunderstand things that people are saying, especially at this time. We may get very short-tempered and think, who is that person and why are they criticizing me? And, that, but it may not actually be what it appears to be. We may just be seeing things in a certain light because we're a bit fired up and perhaps a bit frustrated. But fire is also about burning up. It's about getting rid of, in the sense of purification. We may be trying to get rid of the clutter in our lives, all the ideas and things that we've taken on that just add to our burdens that we need to get rid of. Now, the card that we have along with this, yeah, we have the Knight of Swords along with this. And Knight of Swords is most definitely a card of sharp words, moving in quickly, acting too quickly. So this to me is definitely a warning to be careful not to fly off the handle. Even though swords are air, Knight is kind of a rush of thoughts. It's impulsive. We're ready to move ahead on something. We're ready to tell somebody where to go stick it. But you may need to just, take into account that the energies this week are, maybe fanning the flames of a fire that doesn't need to be spiraled out of control. So just be aware that you might be feeling a little bit more, you might feel a little bit more frustrated. You might feel a little bit more aggravated this week. And so we just want to be careful that we're not, storming around, taking it out on other people. I mean, it's very easy to do, and I'm hardly, the person to criticize anybody else for doing that, because I know that's one of my traits is I can, I'm actually a pretty good, nice person with a long fuse, but occasionally when things get to me, I can really roar out. So this would just be saying, just check yourself this week, because there may be a tendency to do that. Now, if we look at the 7th house across from it, Libra energy, this is how we're relating to other people. This is us, and this is the other people. This can be serious relationships. This can be business relationships. We have the moon here. And then we also have the buckle of Isis. So what we're really looking at here is, the moon would indicate that we may be unclear about relationships in our lives. We may be unclear about what's going on with other people. If you're single, you may have met someone who you're not really clear what their intentions are, or if they're really interested. You may, or you just may not be clear about what the future is in general. And buckle of Isis, this is interesting, because for me, buckle of Isis, for women in particular, this may be saying, this is coming into my head. This is not always the meaning of this card, but sometimes there could be a strong hormonal component to something, which might also explain some of this. Again, that only applies to certain people. This is a general reading, so, some messages will be for some people and not for others. But buckle of Isis definitely has this almost this idea of hormonal intensity that I always feel with this card. When I see it in a health reading for a woman, that's generally what it, it may, whatever their ailments are, may generally have to do with something like this. So so just be aware that could be a factor in how you're viewing things this week. It could be skewing the way you look at things. But for the people for whom that doesn't apply, buckle of Isis has to do with sacrifices that you make that will be rewarded. Okay, so I've been seeing a lot of Neptune in the 7th house for people, and Neptune is also about making sacrifices. So it may be, again, that kind of amorphous energy that we see with the moon. That's kind of this Cancer Pisces energy. But the fact that buckle of Isis is saying there's a sacrifice, there could be a move you want to make. You could be, again, looking at it in opposition to the 1st house. It could be that you may be frustrated or short-tempered with a business partner, with a spouse. But what this is saying specifically is, that it might be worth your while to, to sacrifice the need to act on that, and that will yield the best result in the long run. And sometimes it's just that there's a decision you have to make, or something you have to let go of, or just, just something that you have to do or put the work into in order for it to come about and, to end in the way that you would like it to. So, or to have a satisfactory resolution to an issue or a conflict or something. So sometimes this is just about, you're giving something up, but something greater is coming. So, or, it'll the reward will be worth whatever it is you didn't get to do right now. Okay, 2nd house has to do with Taurus. This is about money. This is interesting. This is the 2nd time I have seen, in the last few weeks, I think I've seen the twins show up in this house. Now, twins are Gemini energy in the 2nd house, but twins is also, as implied, twins also implies relationship, okay? In the tarot, the Gemini is represented by the Lover's card. So, but in Cartouche, it really does seem to have more to do specifically with a relationship rather than a choice. So This implies somebody else being involved in your money situation. Sometimes it could mean a financial partnership with somebody. It could mean somebody who is going to, or somebody who might provide some kind of support. What's our second card here? Yeah, we have the Fool. So the Fool is about taking risks. And for some people, this may mean deciding to move in a new direction, to take a financial risk, in concert with somebody else. Okay, you may be collaborating with somebody on something. So that may apply for some of you. But the Fool, it's interesting because this would actually encourage taking certain risks, I would think. Although, to be fair, the Fool could also be careful that you're not doing anything foolish, with your funds. If I look at some of these other areas here, in terms of money and job and so forth, I don't know. I mean, there's a mixed bag here in terms of finances, but there may be a situation, there may be an opportunity which you might think of as risky, and maybe it's going to involve another person. But there's something about taking a risk with money and something about another person being involved in your finances. That's at the base. But this could have to do with. So I would just say that. I'm just thinking about the astrological environment. So I would say that it may be worth it to take a risk. You really need to focus on your intuition and what your intuition is telling you. And balanced, of course, against the facts of something. But what comes into my head with that is you may not have all the facts right now. Like you may be looking at a financial situation or at a thing, in one particular way. You may be thinking like, oh, okay, well, I would like to do this, but I don't have X number of dollars right now, so and I may not make that back, or this may not happen, so it's not worth it for me to take the risk. Well, what I'm seeing more is to me that more or less says like, no, it may be worth taking the risk because you will get a bigger return on your investment. But again, I don't feel like this is something that's being done alone. So there's this collaborative thing. For some people too, that could just be the Fool. Sometimes indicates things that just come in, willy-nilly out of the blue. So this could even be just somebody who comes in with a money or a gift or something like that as well. So I know I'm covering a lot of bases here, but not everybody's in business, not everybody's in a financial partnership. So the aspect's going to vary depending on what that means for you. Okay, third house is Gemini. Now this is interesting because we've got Urias in the Gemini house. Okay. Now again, I'm thinking Mercury retrograde because Mercury obviously rules Gemini. Urias indicates things not being what they appear to be. Now, when we see Urias, in Cartouche, this card can really go either way. It can be telling you to be cautious. It might be saying be circumspect. It definitely is saying be circumspect about what you say. Don't say too much about certain things. You may want to keep certain things to yourself right now. We have it with the Three of Wands here. So the Three of Wands has to do with this is about, usually it shows somebody standing on a shore, like in the Rider-Waite version. It's almost like they're waiting for a ship to come in. So you may be, again, if I'm seeing this financial partnership, this is a house of business, among other things. So it may be that a collaboration is in the works. But this is kind of saying, first of all, it could be something that just comes out of the blue. First of all, Urias often indicates something unexpected that just comes in, some opportunity that's just, but also it's saying be circumspect about how much you say about it. Don't necessarily talk a whole lot about it. But this can also just mean that, yeah, I feel like this is just something unexpected. Urias can mean caution in the sense of watch out. There could be, it has that almost Seven of Swords feel, like, where you might have somebody who's watching, who could potentially be a saboteur. But I find more with Urias that I would have to say in 95% of the readings that I've done over the years, Urias usually indicates that you are worried about some bad thing, and Urias is telling you it is not as bad as you think it is. Okay, so most of the time that's the way this comes up. Like something may come out of the blue, like a windfall. You might be like, oh wow, what a cool opportunity, So this feels like there could be an opportunity coming in out of nowhere here, okay, in terms of business. But again, there's still this idea of being circumspect in your communications. Work towards collaboration rather than fighting with people. And that kind of goes along with the energy that we're seeing in the first house here. Okay, there's definitely this sense of, or if people say things to you, we may be taking them you may be taking them a certain way, and Urias may indicate it's not meant maybe the way that you're hearing it. Okay, but again, it's usually better. If we think someone's attacking us, It may be that they're not attacking us. Or maybe some, or if we hear rumors or whatever, be very careful about that kind of stuff right now, because there's a lot of false information that goes around during retrograde, and the idea is that you want to revisit, confront, and look at the truth of a situation. And there may be an opportunity coming around again, maybe something you've missed the first time that's going to come back, or this could just be a totally new thing. Okay, fourth house is Cancer energy. This is our home, our environment, and our sense of personal security. Okay, this can have to do with the mother. Third house, by the way, also has to do with our siblings. So for some of you, that may also apply. There could be some kind of communication with brothers or sisters that, maybe something's not what it appears to be. That came into my mind right now. Okay, so fourth house, we have Lotus. So yeah, this is definitely a time of calming the mind. So again, there's a strong theme here of feeling frustrated, ready to move ahead, feeling insecure perhaps, because when Lotus shows up, it means there's an anxiety that's present somewhere. So it's kind of saying, like, just be okay being still where you are. Like, just work on taking care of yourself in that regard, because we have the Wheel of Fortune here. Now, the Wheel of Fortune indicates, there's a lot of things about the Wheel of Fortune. The Wheel of Fortune can turn in our favor or not, but it has to do with change that we don't control. So that tells me that, things that perhaps we're feeling insecure about, this suggests to me that there may be an anxiety about needing to take control of things, feeling like things are out of control, like there may be too many unexpected messages, and you may be kind of like, well, what's next? Like, what's going to happen next? And this could literally have to do with your home. It could also just have to do with your general feeling about, your general stability, your finances, your just sense of feeling secure in yourself. But something is changing. Something big is changing. When the Wheel of Fortune comes up, there's a shift. So what the things that seem to be going on here for people, and it does make me think this might have to do with influences that are more like Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, because those are the big transformational energies. They're not the energies that are close to us. So we oftentimes think like, oh, well, those don't have as much of a personal effect on us, but they are influences that have an effect on the collective. So being that we're looking at a collective reading here, and I've been seeing this, again, I can't tell you how many people I've done readings for this month that I've seen this. And, and myself included, there just seems to be, we're transitioning into something else. So you may be anxious about something, but it's assuring you that whatever's happening right now is timely. It's in the process, and something new is on its way. Like, there's almost a sense of destiny to it. I don't necessarily like that word, but there's a sense that, you are, what's coming up is, it's out of your control. You just kind of have to let it happen. You can't, you're not going to be able to control the process. You're not necessarily going to see where everything is going, but but something good is coming. So I think it's more or less saying, hang tight and trust in the universe. I think that's the best way I would interpret that. Fifth house has to do with Leo energy, and this is the house of creativity. If you have children, this would apply to that. Creative projects, love affairs, and just leisure, having fun. We've got the Thoth card. So yeah, again, this reminds me of the Wheel of Fortune in this particular deck. Thoth to me, first of all, Thoth is about healing. So this may be saying take some leisure time out to heal yourself, okay? You may want to, be taking some time out for yourself. We have it with the Empress, okay? Now the Empress is really good for creativity. If somebody here who's watching this is trying to have a child, then this is a really good omen for that, because the Empress is the mother and it's in the house of having children. So if you are, wondering if if pregnancy is something on the table, then, and you're wondering about it, this is a very good card for that. Whether that's something, it's not making a judgment either way, just that could be the case for some people. But for other people, this would just literally be about, planting seeds, investing in creative projects, investing in things like that, and again, there seems to be a sense of, this card also has a sense of karma, fate, destiny, whatever you want to call it, the right timing for something. So I feel like you may be, you may need to take some time out for yourself to relax and reconsider, which is typical of retrogrades. But you may be being inspired to move in a new creative direction. Now, you may not be able to quite move there yet, but that doesn't mean you can't think about it and start planning and planting the seeds. Doesn't mean that things are going to all manifest right now, but definitely that there's an idea that you should be exploring that. I feel like everybody, as we get ready for Pluto to move from Capricorn to Aquarius, in that 20-year cycle, this is kind of telling us, like, look, the old way that you're doing things, the old way of, like, I've got to be working every minute, or I'm a lazy POS, and or I don't need to take time out for myself, or I shouldn't enjoy the work that I do. I feel like there's a strong element of that here. Like, no, you need to do what makes you shine. This is Leo energy. What do you have? What talents do you have that you need to present to the world? What gifts do you have to offer? And that doesn't mean that you have to be self-sacrificing. You can, and that isn't selfish. You need to take care of yourself. If you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anybody else. Okay. I say this over and over again, but a lot of us have this idea that if we're only doing things for ourselves or taking time out for ourselves, that when we feel guilty, we're a bad person. I shouldn't be doing that. Well, yeah, actually you should, because if you are burning the candle at both ends, when people need your help, you're going to be too burnt out to help them. So focus on yourself, focus on what makes you feel alive. That's a combination of leisure and also of creativity. Like what do you enjoy doing? Like, even as a hobby, it doesn't mean that you have to necessarily like turn it into a money-making thing or anything, but focus on what really brings you joy here. Okay. And again, for some of you that may literally have to do with having a child. Okay. So 6th house, this has to do with Virgo energy. This is your health. This is your job. This may be areas in which you're worried. This is also the house of service, domestic animals. They're all associated with this house. It's funny, we have Anubis in the house of domestic animals. Maybe this has to do with somebody's dog. But this is a very strongly protective card. Okay. Anubis comes up when we are, oftentimes it's about, having a navigator through the darkness. Okay, that's what Anubis does in Egyptian mythology. He's the guide through the underworld. In the coffin texts, he's also the one who is the judge. But really, Anubis in Cartouche deck is really about protection. It can be about having a sense of humor, about trying to, try not to take things so seriously, try not to take life so seriously. If there is a health issue or if there's a hospitalization for somebody, this is a very good omen that things are going to come out okay. So if that applies to you. We do have it with the Devil card. So the Devil may be indicating, in terms of our health, watch out for excesses, excesses of food, drink, if you take drugs, and whatever. I mean, whatever it is, this is saying really beware of excesses right now, because there's definitely a sense that we could be tied to certain addictions or habits. Oftentimes, too, when we're feeling insecure, sometimes we do turn to these habits, like we overeat, or we may overdrink, or you may do certain things that, because you're feeling stressed out. So it may be saying be careful of that, because you don't want that to have a negative health impact, okay? This also, for some people, could be feeling tied to a job that they don't, that they dislike and feel like they really need to get out of. And Anubis here, in this case, there's a certain sense of protection there. To me, that says that, you are safe. You can, you're not as vulnerable as you think. We have Urias over here. You may have more options than you think. So you want to strive towards unattachment here, unattachment to either stuff and things. Not that you can't enjoy things. Okay, the Devil can also be about enjoying stuff, but we just don't want to do it to the point of dependency. That's what you really want to look out for here. And if you feel that you are trapped or chained to a particular job situation, because this is the job house, like Anubis indicates that there's a way out through that darkness, okay? That you are protected, that if you make a decision that you think is financially risky over here, that actually you're going to be okay. Like you're not going to lose your house or your livelihood, or, even if money is a little tight for a short period of time, it feels to me like it's ultimately saying you're going to be looked after. Okay, and that may be also why we have the twins over here in the money house for at least some people. It may be just that, okay, if you're in a situation where, maybe you've lost a job or something has changed, it's more or less saying, no, somebody's going to have your back. Okay, let's go to the Scorpio house, the 8th house of transformation. And we have here, that's interesting, this came up last week too. Okay, so we have Sirius, first of all. So Sirius indicates, again, this is strong Aquarian energy in the 8th house, and this is about... Well, it's about work. Sirius is about physical exercise in the most basic sense, but it's about work. It's about endurance, being able to, it almost has the element of the strength card in that sense. It's like taking the rough with the smooth, being but it's not the same as you necessarily slamming your head up against obstacles. It's just saying, yes, you can get where you want to get, but it's going to require some work, and it's also going to require some innovation, because Sirius energies are about thinking outside the box, doing it differently. So again, that kind of jives with everything we're seeing here. You feel trapped in a job. This may be saying, well, now's the time to innovate. Now's the time to think differently. Okay, it's going to take some work. Nothing ever usually. I mean, unless we're really lucky, things rarely come for free. You have to put something into it. But that is, but if you relax, get yourself out of the mindset that there's only one way to do this. Oh, I just have to get another job like the one that I have. You don't have to do that. You can get out of that mindset and move into this other space. And you have it with the Queen of Pentacles. And this is what was interesting to me, because Queen of Pentacles came up in this house last week as well. So, and yeah, as well as actually, I believe the twins came up here. So this is the house also, among other things, of other people's money. And Queen of Pentacles is a very strong financial omen. It's about sharing. So I don't know, for some people, this literally will be a Queen of Pentacles, a person, male or female. I mean, genders don't really matter here. Although, I don't know, I tend to find that when a woman card shows up, it has to do with a woman, so, or somebody who identifies as female. So this is very strong, again, this has almost strong Empress energy, I think, the Queen of Pentacles. Is this idea of the woman who is secure enough and has enough to share. So in that case, that could literally be somebody who is the person who's going to be helping you financially. Could be somebody who's an earth sign, because Pentacles are earth. But it can also just be that this is going to be something like you're going to be putting the work into something, and you may have the support. This is like an external support, is the way I see it. And also the emotional, there's always an emotional component to the queens. So I feel like it's almost like being able to feel secure and satisfied, like some kind of changes that are going to enable you to feel secure where you are. So yeah, there's a lot around transformation here. It's also worth remembering, though, that Pentacles generally are not fast-moving energy. They're generally slow energy. So it's more like slow and steady wins the race kind of thing. So not to get too anxious if things aren't happening super, super fast. Okay, so let's go to the 9th house. This is Sagittarius energy. Okay, now we had Sphinx in the 9th house. So Sphinx usually has to do with what's secret or what's hidden, or what we have to wait and see how something is going to come together or pan out. Sphinx has this strong, to me, for some people, this could mean there's something about either, this is a house of higher ed, it's a house of beliefs, it's the house of long distance travel, very strong Jupiter energy, Sagittarius energy associated with the house. And Sphinx is often associated with Leo, but it's very passive though. I think it's just only Leo in the sense that it looks a bit like, Sphinx looks a bit like a lion or is part lion. But this to me is, Sphinx to me is just this idea that there's some information that you don't have right now. Okay. It could be somebody is literally keeping a secret from you, but there's, nonetheless, it's this idea that we may be waiting for something to happen here. So again, this may have to do with going back to school for some of you. This may be, again, there's this kind of higher ed connection. It could have to do with a long trip. You may be waiting to see when a trip is going to come together, if that's something you've been planning or thinking about doing. We have it with the 9 of Cups. So the 9 of Cups is a wish fulfillment. So to me, this kind of points, at least for some people, the idea that you maybe will want to be looking at a distance for something, or this may be a matter where you need to expand your knowledge or go deeper in order to get this satisfaction, to get this wish. Okay, so yeah, and Sphinx is a card of excavation, of going deep. So there's this sense of getting, moving into very, very deep knowledge or deep water, which is the sense of this house. That is the kind of knowledge that comes out of the 9th house. 3rd house tends to be, it's Mercury, it's a little bit more lightweight. It's like knowing things, like knowing trivia, whereas the 9th house is more about our belief systems, existential questions about, the universe and where we're going and so on and so forth. So, so there's something to be gained here. For some people, it could be a wish that's fulfilled via a trip. It could be fulfilled via going back to school, or, taking an intensive course of study of something. So, and for some of you, okay, this also comes into my head. For some of you, this could be that if you're trying to think about a new career path, you either want to think about more education, potentially, although you might not want to act on it yet with Sphinx, like wait and see. or it could mean a career opportunity that relates to teaching, higher learning, or travel. Okay, so those are your possibilities there. 10th house, we have Capricorn energy. And it's funny, we have Seth, which is a strong Saturnian influence in the 10th house. So this is where we're blocked right now. So we may, and that may be where our frustration comes in. We may be trying to move ahead with our career. We may be trying to make certain decisions. Maybe we're looking for another job. Maybe this devil energy here, we're trying to get out of a job. Or, maybe a job situation is tenuous and you're kind of like, oh, something's going to change. So Seth often indicates that, we're facing an obstacle this week. Now, Seth is always drawn with a second card. So the second card is air. Now, air has to do with communications, with the swiftness of something. For some of you, this could be a message that's just come in that maybe is frustrating or that creates an obstacle or a block. But it also has to do with change and movement. So I feel like for some people at least, this is going to represent a change in job. Like something's going to happen. It doesn't necessarily mean people are going to lose their job, but there could be big changes that you don't like. There's just some idea here of communication and movement. So I just have a feeling that, at least for some of you, this is going to be like, okay, something's coming to an end with a job or career situation you've been in, this bondage kind of situation. And I feel like with Anubis over here, kind of reflecting that, it may be saying you're going to be okay. Don't worry about it. But, things may move quickly, like changes may happen quickly here. So, but we have it with the 10 of Pentacles, which is good. So the 10 of Pentacles is about, doing something that'll last, something to building a legacy. And this is also an extremely good financial omen. So it may be that you need to walk away from a particular situation or career path or something that you thought was the right thing for you. And maybe for some of you, that's going back to school over here too. I mean, or eventually moving from doing to teaching or something like that. Rather, like somebody taking their expertise and now teaching it instead of physically doing it is what I mean by that. And so I feel like you're moving away from career choices maybe that were more about just making money and moving, and being tied to the material aspect of it towards something that is not only going to make you a lot of money ultimately, but is also going to leave a lasting legacy. So that's what I feel about is going on here for a lot of you. I think actually that's a very good omen. It's kind of like saying there could be something crappy going on right now, but it's going to have a good ending. Okay, 11th house is Aquarius energy. Okay, so this is where our goals are, our focus, and also our friendships. So it's interesting. Okay, so we have the Hermit, which is Virgo energy, and we have just moved into Virgo, and we have it with Earth, and of course, Virgo's an Earth element as well, Earth sign. So this suggests to me that for a lot of people, there may be a focus on money, on material things, maybe some of this collaborations could be with friends or people within your network. Okay, but there is definitely the idea of trying to grow something. It's interesting that this is falling opposite the Empress in this house, because Empress is Taurus energy. There's this very, very strong financial component to this. So there's this idea that we are, our wishes and goals, we are plotting towards setting this foundation. But Earth also implies, again, you're planting seeds and you're waiting for something to grow. So it's not necessarily about everything suddenly happening right now. But be assured that the seeds you're planting are going to yield an appropriate harvest. Okay? And very strongly I'm seeing here about working with other people. That's just consistent. I feel like this is more, for some people, this would less be a reading about like love and romance, if that's what you're looking for, and more about establishing working relationships. There's a very strong sense of that. And with the Hermit, though, we may also, like in terms of friendships and networking, the Hermit may also indicate a need to kind of take a time out and reflect, especially with some of the difficult energy down here in the third house, or there's a lot of wait and see energy too in terms of what we know. We got Urias here and Sphinx here. Those are both very, very similar in their aspect, along with Nephthys. I feel like there's a sense of almost like we're waiting for something to happen. And, this is also about waiting for something to happen. So it just might be saying, hang tight, that thing is coming, but there are a lot of blocks to that just at the moment. Remember, this is only a reading for this week. This is not a reading for forever. This is just this week. So right now there's that kind of an influence. If we look at the 12th house, this is Pisces, and this is what's hidden, what we're afraid of. And we've got some really good stuff here. Foreign travel too, by the way, for some people. And what else is the 10th? 12th house is just kind of weird because it's a house of escapism, and it represents both liberation and being tied down at the same time. It's just kind of weird. But we have Scarab here, which is nice. So this is a card of change. This is something that's going on. There's a transformational shift that's going on here. I usually read this with the 8th house because the 8th house energies are very similar to the 12th house. And you've got Sirius over here. So this is about breaking out of the paradigm, doing something new. But we may also be afraid of that because this house tends to reflect what we're scared of, whether we want to admit it to ourselves or not. We may be nervous about a change. We may be nervous about what this risk is going to do to our finances, right? But we have it with the Star. So the Star is great. The Star is the card that follows the Tower. So this indicates, and we don't see the Tower in this reading today. So this is the idea that whatever blocks, obstacles, frustrations that we may be expressing or feeling, uncertainties about things, this is indicating there's a lot to hope for, okay? This is very, very strong potential. And it's very strong potential. And the fact that it's in the 12th house, this is about, again, this is about letting go, emptying out the cups. You see this person on the card is emptying out their cups. And that's the same on the traditional Star card as well. It's this idea of emptying out so that you can fill up again. I feel like that we're losing or getting rid of certain things that we've been attached to that we believe that we need for our security, but we really don't. It's an illusion, and that is saying, no, we need to be looking more at our possibilities, and we need to be looking towards that change that's coming as a good thing, as something that's actually going to transform us and move us towards something that's going to make this lasting legacy over here. Now, overall, we have the Pyramid card. So again, this is a test situation and a test time. And that makes perfect sense astrologically as well. And it does mean good news eventually. So again, there's this idea of slow and steady right now. Don't get too frustrated like we have over here. Don't get too frustrated if things aren't happening right now. And be careful about taking it out on others and about what you say. Because just be aware that even something that doesn't look very good right now you may get more information and then go, oh, wait, you'll see why this thing that you thought was bad may actually be something good, okay? And you have it with the Hierophant, okay? The Hierophant is, well, this is a card of tradition. Right now, this may be just telling you to stick to what's tried and true for the moment. I mean, yes, we're definitely looking at innovation, but, we may be looking at things more in a, we may be ready to take things to another level. Hierophant sometimes means that we're ready for the next step. This can have to do with higher learning or mentoring. You could be the mentor, because this is also this is strong Taurus energy also. So it could be that through, some kind of tradition, through some kind of education or something, may be the way forward. We may encounter somebody who mentors us or helps us in some financial way. But the Hierophant, again, often has to do with tradition. So at least just for the moment, we may just feel like we want to, we're basically just kind of staying where we are with what we know right now until we see where these changes are going to take us. We can start thinking about the future. We can brainstorm. We can put our ideas down, but wait, give it some time to see how this is going to develop before you make any final decisions. Now, we have one more card that I'm going to do for today. And let me take out the Wisdom of the Tao Oracle. And I'm just going to pull one card for us. And by the way, Pyramid is 23, which adds up to 5, okay? And Hierophant is 5. 5s generally have to do with changes that involve some kind of conflict or discomfort, but they are required to get rid of what's not needed anymore in the situation and to enable us to move ahead. And our card today is Opportunity. And Opportunity is the Snake card. Okay, and that's interesting because we have Urias down here. Now this is actually a very, very good card. You have to remember in Eastern astrology and in Eastern religion and so forth, snakes are not negative. In the West, we tend to think of snakes as being deception or the devil or something like that. We have this very negative association with the snake. It's very positive association everywhere else. Now, the message on this card is, it is an opportune time. You are a wise soul and a preeminent strategist. You know your motives and you anticipate the successful outcome before a move is even made. You are on the right track. Okay, so that to me indicates opportunities are coming. We're not seeing them yet, This could be our surprise down here, but things are coming. So yeah, plan your strategy right now. Planning is good. Action may not be right now. We need to kind of, curb our impulses at the moment. Recognize that we don't have all the information about people and situations, but ultimately we're going to get to where we need to be. So you just need to trust that you are protected right now and that the answers that you need are going to be coming soon. Right now, though, things may be a little bit cloudy due to the astrological influences and so forth. So you need to, so just hang in there, take your time, don't make any rash decisions yet. And you may need to, when I'm seeing this with higher knowledge and also with the presence of the Hermit over here, I do feel like there's a need to kind of ground yourself, focus on what's real right now, and take this as a time more for introspection and planning than for movement. That's it for me this week. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next week.